Hi. So that's like a new experiment that I'm doing. I just yesterday create a page to speak about rugby, and I thought it was like we were speaking a little bit. We were like exchanging a little message with Sia on those days. We didn't catch us, and then I say, okay, today I have to go there all in and have Sia as a guest in my first show on DanPat Rugby. So, Sia, you are rugby player, rugby coach. Introduce yourself a little bit, just for the huge audience, two people that they are listening now.
All right. So basically, I'm a rugby coach player. You know, through the years, I've grown up in rugby from South Africa, and through my rugby experiences in the country, I managed to get an opportunity to come abroad and expand my experience within the rugby culture and within the rugby world in Europe, which was Lithuania. You know, and then I arrived in Lithuania as a coach. But through my observations of the standards of rugby in Lithuania, I realized that, you know, my rugby career is not actually over as a player, where I needed to get down and dirty on the field to get some of the players and the teams to understand how rugby works, you know, to get them to believe into the systems that I'm trying to install within the country and within the clubs, that the conditioning and the philosophies that I am going on about are practically possible. And the only way they could experience that is by seeing that happen, seeing me as the coach player going through the stages and changes.
Nice.
And yeah, eventually it worked out pretty well for me. That was one way that I could fast forward the development of the rugby within the environment that I was in. And then thereafter, it was easier for me to install the systems within the club or within players and getting the players to believe. You know, my philosophy mostly is coming to a resolution of developing a complete athlete, you know. And a complete athlete, it's not just about the rugby game. It's about you as a person and what you can do for yourself using the game and what qualities you can learn from the game to use outside the game.
Yeah,
You know,
I
so,
remember.
yeah,
I remember this
pretty
thing,
much,
yeah. From day one that I met you, it was all the time this topic, like complete athlete, complete athlete. And I remember we met in Vilnius Rugby Academy, and it was really your like see a trademark. Be a complete athlete. We will go about that. We will speak about that. Just let's start from begin, Sia. I'm very, very curious. I never asked you that to know how you got in touch with rugby. What was your first rugby experience when you were a little child? How you started to play rugby in South Africa? Just tell me a little bit. I'm totally curious about that.
yeah. So basically, in my country, as you know, rugby is very big, but from coming from a background of African descent, at the time when I was young, it was not in a reachable state yet. It wasn't so popular amongst us, but I was very fortunate to have a dad that loved rugby and played rugby, you know, amongst his peers at college. So chatting with my dad all the time, he used to, you know, mention the rugby, and he used to tell me that I'm so naughty, I should be going to a rugby field where I can go get, you know, battered and get some little knocks here and there. So basically, that installation of the mind, you know, I started seeing rugby and thinking rugby before I could even watch it on TV. And then eventually, you know, when the TV came about and actually seeing the sport, my brother was fortunate as well to go to a school, Afrikaans school, where they had some rugby, you know, and I had views from him where my dad was telling me he's playing, you know, I used to see pictures of him. let alone I haven't watched a rugby game, just seen pictures. And the rugby ball came home, started playing around with this rugby ball thing. And then at the age of 11, I was moved from a local school to a pretty good rugby school, which is Dale College. And by the time I entered Dale College, which is one of the best rugby schools in the country, I had already had the mindset of rugby. I'm here, I'm going to play rugby. When is rugby starting? And that's when the proper rugby started. Otherwise, before Dale College, it was just a matter of holding the rugby ball and passing all sorts of direction. I don't know what I'm doing with the ball. It's just you catch this ball, you pass, you kick, you do whatever. And once I was at Dale Junior, which it was Dale Junior, and then I started getting in the rooms of rugby, playing an actual official rugby game. So yeah, that's where my rugby career started off.
Okay. You are born in year like.
Hello.
We will go about that. How old were you, Sia, in 95? Ah, fuck. We have some problem with the connection, maybe.
My rugby career started off.
You are born in year like.
Hello.
Yeah, Sia, just try to go out and come back, maybe.
Okay, yeah, there's a little bit of a mix-up and delay.
Okay. Now is good. Now is good.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little bit of delayed, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a little bit of delayed. It's a pity because it was so interesting. What about now? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good now.
Okay, good. So, Sia, how old were you in 1995?
1995, I was 10 years old when I started, and I was going to be turning 11 years old in that year.
Okay, and which remember do you have about that year, about the Invictus World Cup and the Mandela stuff and all was going through South Africa? Which remember do you have? I never asked you that.
That's actually the year 1995 where I started playing rugby. So that whole hype of the Rugby World Cup and, being in a school of rugby.
Africa, which remember do you have? I never.
Yourself, I'm hearing you speak, asking me the same question again.
I think there is some problem with your connection. Which remember. I think we had some problem with connection. I'll ask now Sia to go back there and try to see if something can change. Try to go out and come back. And let's see if something is changing, because it was really, really interesting what Sia was telling us. It was really, really interesting now. Or maybe I'll try to get. Okay, what about now? He went.
Yeah, I can
He
hear
went.
you.
I see now the chair. Let's see if he come back. I was asking him basically about 1995 because it was the. Oh, what about now?
Okay, now it's much better.
Okay, let's try again. So, what do you remember about 1995, Sias? Because we all know that year for South Africa was huge. So you were starting to telling me that you started there.
That year was a wow. That year was a wow. You know, it basically opened up a lot of opportunities, you know, amongst the whole nation. As you know, that South Africa prior 1995, you know, it was people. Not everyone was allowed to compete within the sport because of the South African politics and everything. So 95 kind of ended that segregation, you know, and we felt part of the whole rugby and sport nation of the country, whereas before you just saw it from far away. But at the time of 1995, where we got to experience the World Cup and you could actually see everyone within the country getting together, you know, to be part of this whole change, it was great. You know, you experienced it within yourself, and it brought a lot of motivation and belief that, you know, I can do that. I can be there. You know, within the next time the World Cup plays, I want to be there. So that was a great time for me to start rugby, because that's how I kicked off. That when I walked onto the rugby field, all I could picture in my head is that World Cup. That wow, so people having fun, you know, people coming together, just enjoying this game of rugby, you know, and that's what I went onto the field to do, to enjoy the rugby, to get that great feeling within myself. Whereas if you have that feeling, it brings a good atmosphere around the people that you're with, you know, especially amongst family. Just seeing you express yourself, it did wonders, you know.
Yeah, nice. And that I can imagine has had a huge impact on South Africa culture all around. Maybe not just rugby wise. Yeah, because why I'm asking you this, because I saw this year before the final the speech that Erasmus had with the team, and it was like underlying that you are not fighting for yourself, you are not fighting for just for the team, but you are fighting for the entire country, for the entire South African people. Because this last year, it was the situation, it was quite tough in South Africa again. And again, sport of rugby came to give hope to the people. How much is that important for you there?
It's ultimately South Africa through sport have found a way of togetherness. You know, it plays an immense part in how South Africans have been able to work together and build together and be able to tolerate each other. It all starts within the sporting field, because within the sporting field, it's a level ground. It's a level ground in terms of you expose what you have, the talent that you have within yourself, and no one can stop you from exposing what you can do. You know, it's flesh against flesh, it's men against men, it's woman against woman. You know, all the other dynamics are put aside, and once you look at that dynamic, you realize that this person has got a quality that I don't have, or I've got qualities that the other person doesn't have, which is within that you gain confidence within yourself, and you see yourself as the same as everyone else, as a human being that can achieve in certain areas better than another person. Because life is always about competition. We cannot run away from that. We are built in life to be competitive. You understand? So within that competition, if you do not find yourself belonging or achieving anything, you kind of go into a segregation period where you sink inside yourself. So with basic sport where you can go and express yourself, it's easy. It's just learning about the skill. There's not much pressure, on what to learn technically and tactically. At that young age is about expression. And once you can express yourself, you find that even your peers around you, it doesn't matter what color or what ethnic group they come from, they start looking at you and realizing that you've got something. And just by that atmosphere, you as a person, you start believing in yourself. You start seeing yourself do things that other people do, which before 94, you wouldn't see yourself in that environment. But now by these people embracing you, you find that there is something that we can work out together and learn from each other. So yeah, South African rugby 95, without the rugby, we could have been further steps back to where we are now with our democracy. That's my personal belief. It has taken us a little bit forward, into fast forwarding how we can, work as a country and as a nation. And after the rugby, it started becoming other sports, So rugby was the core of building this nation through sport. And thereafter, other sports, were there. And
football,
people
for
started
example,
being involved
soccer,
in
yeah.
Yeah.
Football, soccer,
I can highlight about our football, the 2010 World Cup. It was a great World Cup. Again, the nation came together. We pulled one of the best World Cups, in history. Recall organization, and with the what can I say, with the accomplishment of the world football. It was a big accomplishment. Obviously the country managed to develop as well, and economically it was good for the country, for the tourism. It was immense. People got to experience South Africa in a totally different way, because South African is seen as in most Europe. What I've realized, South African is seen as Africa. Africa is seen mostly as a jungle. We have to be honest about these things, And truly speaking, South Africa and Nigeria and other African countries, you will find that okay, there are underdeveloped areas, but within the country you will find that there's areas that are exotic. We've got a beautiful nature in South Africa. We've got beautiful wildlife. We just need to appreciate it.
Nice.
So
nice.
yeah.
In the meantime, you were speaking. There are some people connecting and sending us a hello and smile. Erika Shimkonite, one of the toughest player I had the honor to coach. So let's say hello to her, and Bobo Mane. So thank you for following us and for sending us greetings. Okay, Sia, I'm interested in another thing.
Hello, Erika.
Yes, yeah, I'm interested. I wanted to ask you this thing. What about this year World Cup and South Africa play? Did you thought they could win the World Cup, or when they came to the final, I was like, oh, it is like two different style of rugby, Eddie Jones rugby and Erasmus rugby. I thought that South Africa will just hit hard and go tough, and Eddie Jones make some strange play, but it wasn't like that. It was South Africa very total type of rugby. What are your thoughts about that? Did you thought they could win?
I never doubted the possibility of South Africa getting to the playoff stages. We are a nation that's strong enough to definitely make it to the playoff stages. But when it came to the semi-finals, I didn't have much hope. Because New Zealand, I'm a New Zealand supporter. And yeah, they've been having a good year. England has had a good year, and Eddie Jones is I recommend as one of the top coaches you can ever come across in world rugby, you know. But with that specific World Cup and time, there were two great minds. You know, Rassie Erasmus, as a young coach, he showed his intelligence. He's a very intelligent rugby coach. He outtaught Eddie Jones. That's where the whole game changed. Eddie Jones is a very smart coach. As I say, I recommend him as one of the best. But Rassie Erasmus came through, sat down, and he did behind the doors for the preparation for that specific game. He outtaught Eddie Jones, you know. And what Eddie could have done in that situation, he could have rested his players and started with a different lineup, considering the games that he had just been through before the final. Because England had very tough games before the final, where the first string players were exhausted. You know, I think what Eddie could have done, he could have started with the fringe players. When I say fringe players, the players that hadn't had as much game time, but they still quality players enough to be in the starting lineup, and bring back those core players later in the game to finish the game and stabilize it. So yeah, as you saw that the South African team has always been a very physical team, one of the most physical teams in the world, you know, and yeah, they bashed England up. England had to work very hard, and you know, they put the ball into air, and yeah, England went. They didn't react, you know, good enough, you know, to the high ball and the pressure coming from the South Africans, you know, and that's where the game started crumbling, you know, where they couldn't keep their own ball and they didn't get much momentum moving forward because of the hard and physical defense from the South Africans, which is they were going there to kill and nothing else, you know, and after a couple of you know, phases and a couple of, you know, minutes, 15 minutes into the game, you could feel that this game is going to be about physicality. You know, if you can take it physically, you will be able to advance. But England didn't show at any point in time where they were taking the game physically, either attacking wise or defense wise. They were getting battered in the physical terms of the game. You know,
Yeah,
and thereafter the mental goes away, because if your body can't take it, your mind starts shifting, trying to accommodate the body. And now you start thinking about the wrong things, trying to accommodate your body, and you're not thinking about the game, what's in front of you. So from there, everything becomes, you know, a little bit harder.
Yeah. I think it was, first of all, they smashed England in scrummage. So England had this point at minute 2 where Sinclair did had to go out for the concussion. And from that moment, it was like another game. It was incredible. And you were speaking about mental aspect of the game, and I know that you are very obsessive on that. You are very, very passionate on that particular part of the game. What do you think it is the importance of the mental aspect of the game nowadays? Of course, it is a lot, but maybe can you make some example where this mental aspect of the game is really becoming crucial in the game of today?
Patella, for me, the mental aspect of the game is actually the most important. You know, everything, if you can think about something and you can achieve it in the mind, and then physically and practically it becomes possible. But if you cannot see or think of something in the mind, the body will struggle to get to where you want it to get. So for me, it starts mentally. That goes for all sports people. Any game you're playing, whether football, whether swimming, whether tennis or whatever, you need to get your mental side of the game on top form. You need to understand why you're doing this. What is this bringing to you? And then once you start understanding those, you start getting your own personal motivations on the side of, okay, the reason I'm doing this, it will put me in this position. I enjoy being in this position. I enjoy such rewards and that. But the most important thing, you need to find the mental benefit of you as an athlete. How does this game mentally benefit me? Once you find that mental drive, and then what you do on the field, you are enthusiastic about achieving the small little drills. You are enthusiastic about getting to training and getting through that training session because you know the goal. Once you start looking at the smaller goals of, I want to go to training and then I want to play a game, you're skipping a lot that's in between where small distractions will take you out of the game, you know. So you need to have that idea of why am I doing this? What do I get out of this as a person? And
Yeah.
what does this bring to people that are around me? I'm always about people around me and myself. If I'm bringing good to the people around me, and then I feel good. So that's number one. And then if I feel good, that means that I can do what I want to do in comfort. And once I can do what I want to do in comfort, it puts my body in a position where it can achieve beyond, what the body is prepared for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very, very interesting. And I asked you because I know that you are very, very focused on that aspect of the game. And I remember just the first training session you had in Vilnius with those guys, and you were like, "You are a winner. You are a winner. You need to know that you are a winner." Just to change the mentality of such of those guys. And I know that such of those guys, they achieved big success. So like Danius went to South Africa to train with elite, and I think that it was important for all of us that we were like seeing those moments. Maybe we are not speaking about that, but then in this pandemic, it is like an occasion to remember those times. And I know that you are really, really into that. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Now, also opportunity for Daniels there. It was also, a big step for Lithuanian rugby. To see credit to the Lithuanian Rugby Federation for that program, because through that players could see something outside Lithuania in rugby. Just like I could see outside South Africa in rugby a different life. So it wasn't just now about I'm playing in a club in Vilnius, in Lithuania. The kids started understanding that I can also be another Danish. I can go to England, I can go to South Africa, I can go all over the world just by this rugby game, a rugby game that I already enjoy playing. But if I put in a little bit of work, through the knowledge of the coaches and the opportunity the federation provides me, and then I could be in other places. So yeah, and even now the Lithuanian Rugby Federation is still, in good programs with players in England and other places. So that's always the great part about rugby, the opportunities that you get and experiencing a different world and a different culture. And maybe within that culture, you will find yourself and you'll find your purpose, which you couldn't find in your own home country.
Yeah. What is your feedback about those times in Lithuania? Is there something you learned there? Is there something now you have in your experience backpack that you are bringing with you through the world? Now you are in Turkey. You were speaking with me about other possible experience. Is there something that you took from Lithuania and now is a part of your coaching method?
Oh yes, yes, most definitely. Lithuania was challenging, and challenges brings out the best out of a person, So with the challenges in Lithuania, I realized that whatever idea I had in the mind, I must take that idea, put it aside, because now what I have in my mind is not what I see in front of me. What I see in front of me is totally different. How the individual responds, how the team responds, how the culture, the dynamics respond. That has taught me a lot on how to adapt in different environments within the world. which is it's something that I used as well to adapt into the Turkish culture and environment. You need to listen to people. You need to first learn people before you can teach them something. That's the most important thing. It's easier if you learn someone first for you to teach them something. It becomes a challenge to teach someone something and you do not truly know those people. The more you know about the person, the easier it is for you to give something that you want to give to them. So that is the best thing that I got out of Lithuania. Even when I moved from Vilnius to go to the Kaunas rugby, it was the same thing there. Different culture, different people, different ambitions, different ways what they see, of the sport. So again, there it became simpler because I knew that okay, same scenario, different bunch of group of people. We need to get a belief into their system. I need to paint a picture in them. And obviously, before painting that picture, I was fortunate enough that they already knew me a little bit, from around. And we played against them the 1 year where we gave them a fright, where we lost the game at the end of the last 9 minutes of the game, where it was a change of Vilnius, where they couldn't believe that they almost lost to Vilnius. So they already knew about me a bit there. And what I needed to do there was learn of the characters because I knew the other players through the playing field. And I'm very fortunate to have some emotional intelligence in me, where I already knew players through the involvement of the game from the other club. So it was just personally getting into the tip of this player. Okay, this is this player. I can unleash this out of this player, and this player is different. He needs this different kind of management. So it was more of individual management that brought the team together. With the counters.
Yeah, just for the
So
people
it was dealing with players, accepting them individually and trying to better them as individuals. And through that, I could get them to understand where they play part into the team and to the idea I have of the team.
Yeah, just for the people that they are not so much aware about Lithuanian rugby world. Sia started to coach and play in Vilnius, in Vilnius Rugby Academy. As you said, you brought together with all the team and with Vidmant Valis, who was the coach, you were like quite close to make a step up, like beating teams that historically are like a step above Vilnius, like Kaunas and so on. And then you went in Kaunas. And if I'm not wrong, because I already was in Spain, so I can miss something. You were very close to win the championship with Kaunas, yeah?
Yeah, Kaunas was an awesome season. It was an awesome season. We won the Baltic Championship in sevens, and then with the 15s we came second. And again it was a step-by-step building. We lost the first 2 games, and I still remember I kept saying to the players, "Do not worry. We lost those games, but we actually won." Because it has showed how we have developed, moved forward. And I remember speaking with Irmantas Kapuskas after we lost the second game in Cholet, and he was saying that, you guys, you don't have a chance, to become second or third, but you can try. And I said to him, you're forgetting that if we win every single game from now on, we can come second. And it was just out of my heart speaking to him, and the revelation season that after that loss in Cholet, we went on and won every single game, because the team was new, the team was fresh. We were building step by step, and that was the important thing for me. The building, the building and understanding of where we're going, so that when we get hold of what we're doing, we cannot lose it. We go the whole way. And we did go the whole way until the end, because we were climbing each and every game until the last game where we beat Baltrix, you know. And yeah, no, the last game was Baltrix. Second last game was Baltrix. We beat them, and then the final game was against Virus, the champions, where we beat them as well. So yeah,
Did
it
you,
was
yeah,
awesome.
did you cut your hairs? Because I remember you promised that if one day you will beat Veiras, you will like cut your hairs or something like that. But I wasn't in Lithuania to witness it.
I did cut my hair. I had that deal with the Lithuanian Rugby Federation president and Rockstar. You know, I said to the president, Rico Kodjovic, that I will not leave Lithuania without beating Valtrex and Virus. You know, and it's something that we kept on laughing about, you know, but every year it was a step closer. And when we did beat Virus and Valtrex, I shaved all my hair off. You know, it was, I had to do it because I'm a man of my word. And yeah, the whole hair went off and I started from scratch. It was a great feeling.
Okay, so yeah, just one of the last questions. You explain now about a process that the team do together, and I remember there is as well a video of yours where you are motivating the team and so on. Was there a click moment, like a moment where the team understood, yes, we can do it, we can beat strong teams, we can, because it is a process that it is very, very interesting, and it happens in all the teams. I had something like that 2 years ago. I remember the kids of the generation of Algimantas had something as well, like 6-7 years before to winning all straight on. So what is the thing that can really change a team? Of course, there is not some magical recipe, but from your experience.
What changes the team and the team's views and the players' views is achieving the small areas. You know, take a game as a whole. You know, for instance, if you achieve a certain aspect of defense, you lose the game, but still your defense was disciplined enough to give the opposition a different challenge because those teams used to run over us. But now they find that the teams, they need to think and they need to work harder to get through the defense. So when that happens, as a coach, you need to be able to identify that success and you need to expose it to the players that regardless that you lost, you missed tackles, and show them how they've improved and achieved, you know, through the trainings and the processes of technical learning of the game, you know. Once they start seeing the little things that you're teaching them in training and they see the achievement game, it can only be a one small piece. But once that piece is installed in the mind and the player believes, you cannot take that away. And now you move on from that piece to the next piece, you know. And as time goes, you've got different pieces now that come together where the players feel confident about, and you can't take that away from the players. And that's where you bring in the technical side of how to manipulate those pieces now. You understand? Because you get this raw pieces, the raw defense. Go in, make your tackle very simple. Now you start speaking about how you assist the next person next to you, how you make it easier for that not strong defender. We know we've got a weak point in this area. So how do we shift our strong players to assist the weaker areas of the game? You know, so now the game starts evolving and the players start seeing the bigger picture of the game by these small pieces. If they cannot achieve the small pieces and put these small pieces together, it's going to be very complicated and difficult to get to this big piece. And if you get to this big piece, it's going to be through individual talent, and you might lose that piece at any time. You understand? But
Yeah.
if you get the small pieces together, they can link. When something goes wrong, it's easy for them to link and say, we didn't complete that little piece of the puzzle very well. That's why that resulted in this and this and that. So in that way, they're coaching themselves. You as a coach have installed something in them, and now they're coaching themselves, because I believe as a coach, you shouldn't be coaching the same thing over and over and over. If you're a good coach, you coach something and you give the players and you equip the players with knowledge on how to adapt to situations and to correct the situations, because the rugby is forever changing and the situations on the rugby field are forever changing and being manipulated. So what I want from my players is that the players can be able to adapt and manipulate, and when I take it to the next level, it's on a level where I do things to force the opposition to do what I want them to do. You understand? So I will play in a certain way where I want the other player to do something, and if they do it, that means that I'm going to do what I want to do on the other side. You understand? So it becomes to that level that you get the players to read you because you want them to read this, but you have prepared for something else.
Yeah. Sia, you said that the game is changing every day, and I remember John Kirwan, one of the best wing of the All Blacks all time, explaining that when he was in Super Rugby, they were like putting on the table at the start of the season all the game plans, because they say that's already old and it will force us to improve. So I know that my opposite team, they already know everything about me. So I will be pushed to innovate, to find other solution, to find other option. What do you think? Is there some area of the game that is becoming more and more crucial and that you are focusing on now more than before? Or it's already the old same game and old same basics? And so is there something that is fascinating you of the modern rugby?
What fascinates me now is the conditioning of the players, the strength and conditioning. That's where teams are making a break and becoming better than the other teams. It's how much you can take and how much you can give. If as an individual I can be able to be at my top performance for 80 minutes of the game, that's beautiful. Where my mind can function top notch for 80 minutes. That is great. But the minute you start getting tired, your mind starts working different and you start, think something, but no, not now. In rugby, you must think and do. That must happen in a space of you look, you see, you react. It's about reacting. But if you're not in good condition, you're going to want to react, but your mind is going to say, maybe I don't make it. So that already means that you physically not in a good, nature to be able to be opportunistic what opens in front of you. But if you are well conditioned, you will see an opportunity, you will take. It doesn't work, you adapt, you change to something else. So it's all about the conditioning. It's about the physical conditioning, the mental conditioning. The physical conditioning will benefit you mentally because you have to go through tough times. You have to push your body to the limits. And without the mental side, you will never be able to physically sustain what happens behind the normal game. It's more what happens before the game. So while you're getting drilled, you're getting tired, you're getting up, and you have to do this thing again. And your mind is saying, I've failed 50 times, but I need to do it again to make sure that this thing is going to happen. That is the part that plays a role. Once you can sustain that pressure mentally, the game is so much enjoyable because the game is about testing, playing around, have fun, manipulating, so more of the work is in the conditioning, and if you're conditioned enough, you can be able to link it to the game plan of the coach. You know, the issues that some coaches have in our days, they have a game plan, but they don't have the players to be able to achieve the game plan. You know, it doesn't matter what game plan I have. If the player cannot get from A to point B, then how is the game plan going to work? You understand? So it starts off with these players as individuals and them being able to be in top form themselves, and you as a coach using what you have to get to where you want to be. You know, it's not going to happen over one day.
Which by the way, I think it was one of the key success, coming back to what we were speaking about South Africa, about the South Africa success in the World Cup. Of course, all the nations were really, really well prepared from a physical aspect, but the end of 2 months tournament and 6 month campaign, what was left in the tank on the final day, it affected the head, and it was like this connection between fitness and brain, and be there when it really counts, that it made the difference, I think.
Yes, indeed. I agree. So and if you look at Rasmus had a plan. He had a long-term plan for his players. And I mean, within as well, the conditioning, the strength and conditioning, rest is very, very important, because the body does break down. If you're going to push the body too much, it's going to break down. So it's very important that you can listen to your body. And as a coach and a strength and conditioner, you can be able to identify when players, are at breakage point. You want to break them, but you don't want to cripple them, So there's difference. You push them, but you don't want to cripple them. After you've pushed them to breaking point, give them a rest where the body can recover and be able to perform again. If you're going to break them consistently, you're going to break them for good, where now you cannot use the players. So it's a very sensitive area where the human genetics come into place as well, because some players' genetics will be able to take vigorous training, day after day after day. But one player can take vigorous training for 2 days. Thereafter, if you push him, he will break physically, he will break mentally, So you need to be able to identify and connect those perspectives where you give some players a rest. And in the same time, when you're giving this player a rest, you need to acknowledge the rest of the players that are working hard. That they need to understand that the benefit of this player not performing at top notch today is to bring it together on the other day. You can do it today, but today he can't do it. It's that understanding of each other.
Yeah, it's very thin. It's very thin, balanced, very hard to find on a professional level and on an amateur level as well. I was in Treviso that week that England was making training camp there in Treviso, and Eddie Jones took the guys there to train in conditions similar to Japan, so to have the same humidity degree. And I can assure you, I was going there to see all the week, all the training session. It was amazing, but I can assure you, it was tough to be there as to watch to the training. I cannot imagine what it was for the lads in the pitch. So it was tough for us to watch. No.
Those kind of things are very, very important. Those are very important. Same as in South Africa, we've got high felt, low felt, where sometimes you kick the ball, it goes further in high felt, but if you go to low felt, you kick the ball, it doesn't go anywhere, and obviously your VO2 max gets pushed, a bit when you're in the high felt. So all those kind of things, you need to get into the body system, because once the body acknowledges that, the body develops in a way where it can counter. When you're in that situation, the body knows how to react and how to sustain under such conditions.
Okay. So last question, Sia, because it is already 15 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time. I would speak about rugby with you for hours, but and then it was like a time that we weren't speaking together. So it is nice for me to have you here. And last question, it is everyone is saying that after this coronavirus things, world will change. So what's your personal dream about the world of rugby after the coronavirus? How do you imagine and how do you wish it will be?
It's you know, it all depends on from a rugby player coach, perspective. I have a different view, and then from an economic perspective, there's a different view. So it all depends from a player. I wish rugby to go back. At the end of the day, our body systems and immune systems might develop. They could develop the fight against the virus. Where our bodies become immune to the virus. But at this point in time, we are not in a position to say, okay, go out, let's test, let's see how we will react, because it's people's lives. You understand? So I hope that we go back into the sport, but when we go back into the sport, there's measures that have been taken, that players are tested before they can, actually compete and everything, just to make sure that none of the players have the virus, so that, because if anyone has the virus, it's going to be a problem. So we need to take certain measures on how we go back into the sport. Do the sporting teams now have the finance to test every player? That's where now the economic part comes in. So from this side, the sponsors didn't get the full, worth of money that they gave out this season. From the advertising perspective, from the marketing perspective, they were cut short. Now, those sponsors, are they going to take money, or are they leave the unions and the teams to say, okay, you use that for the remainder of the next season or something like that? And then now looking at how business is going, lots of businesses are under strain. They do not have the money themselves because they've been out of business. So are they in a position to say that we're going to give more, or we're not going to take what we deserve to get back? Because there's contracts in place that say you must play so many games and you must advertise us for so many, hours and minutes and stuff like that. So if that doesn't happen, they're entitled to take the money back for the hours that they were not exposed to whatever advertising and marketing that they were supposed to be exposed to. So what are they going to do? Everyone is struggling, So are we going to, give, and how much we're going to give? What's going to happen? So it's where the finances will be directed by each government, by each country, by the private businesses. That's going to determine how this works out. I know that rugby players want to go back onto the rugby field. They don't care whether corona or no corona. They want to go back. They're agitated to go back and do what they love doing. Yeah, and start batting into people. But there's always, for every action there's a reaction. So yeah, we can just wait and see how the businesses are going to pick up and see what they can put into the sport. And that's how the sport is going to, see where they're standing. Otherwise, the sport now cannot decide where we're going to be and how we're going to be until the business side is sorted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can just say we go back and we play as for fun. You understand? But that goes, at what level are you playing?
Flag rugby.
Yeah, but there's players that had contracts in place, contracts for years. That's their living, that's their life. Now, how's that going to happen? And if the team, the club itself cannot manage, how does the player want to get what he was supposed to get? But the club cannot fulfill its own contract. You know, so there's going to be a need to be a give and take from all sides to meet in the middle and say, this is the position where we're at now. Let's start from a scratch and say, okay, this is how we can move together forward. These are the possibilities of how we can help you and how you can help us and how we can help rugby.
Yeah. Siya, thanks so much. It was really, really super interesting. I hope, as I said, the page is quite new, but I saw that we had quite a good number of people following us, which I want to thanks. There is another message from Levandlika Sotsikva, who is saying great analysis. So I see that the people were like enjoying it. I was enjoying it by any means, and I think there are some stuff really, really interesting to keep and make ours. So Siya, really, thank you very, very much, and I just hope you all the best for you, and let's keep in touch.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Patela. It was great having a chat with you. And let's stay safe and let's, think about the rest of the world under these challenging times, and just be patient. And yeah, just to mention that everything happens for a reason in this world of course. I see this as an opportunity of people, to search within themselves. There's people that are alone. There's people that are away from their loved ones. Let's not see it as a disadvantage. See it as a time where you can dig into yourself, where you can learn more about yourself, where you can learn on how to adapt to certain situations without that person, without this person, So there's always something to learn out of these difficult situations. And that's what I'm embracing a lot out of, this isolation, is that I've gotten to learn a lot more about myself, and I've seen things that I wouldn't have seen in this busy life that I have, where every day I'm waking up, you're going to job, and this is a job, you come back from home, you're thinking about this day, you need to do this and this and that. Now I've had time to sit and look at things in a different angle, And this is the time as well to get close to your God. You will get answers from God. And there's no one greater than God in this world. And there's only one God. So pray to your God, ask God for revelations, believe and have faith, and everything should be good for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Siya. Big hug.
All right. Thank you, Daniela. Have a good day. Awesome, man. Thanks for the invite.